invisible snails, frogs smaller than a fingernail, lizards with mohawks, and a colorful fish called Wakanda. These are just some of the miraculous new animal species that scientists have recently discovered. Each and every year, researchers scour all corners of the globe in search of new life, whether hidden at the deepest, darkest depths of our oceans, or scampering around in plain sight in one of our forests, deserts, or jungles. These newfound animals have created a buzz in the animal biology world. What does it take to catch a new species? How many more are out there? All this and more is about to be revealed. Compared to some of the predators lurking in our oceans, dolphins are usually rather friendly, playful creatures. And just try looking at this photo of a mama and its calf and not say, "Aww." But this dolphin, if you can even call it that, is a page right out of an entirely different book. More often than you think, a photo of a bizarre creature washed up on a beach makes its way around the internet. In most cases, if it's something too terrifying or too weird to be true, it actually is. And someone's probably created it on Photoshop for just a bit of fun. That was our first reaction when we saw this photo. But after looking into it a little more, we're honestly not too sure what to think. This enigma, which washed up on a beach in Mexico, has the general shape of a dolphin, but it's lacking a number of common dolphin features, like fins, a tail, and its creepiest absence, eyes. Could it be a rare deep-sea dwelling dolphin that science has never seen before? Is it an enormous amalgamation of various eel species? We still don't know, and for now we can only guess. What do you think? Let us know in the comments. While that ominous sea monster brings a number of question marks with it, there's no uncertainty about our next newly discovered creature. Very recently, in 2019, an expedition led by naturalist Zishan Mirza set off to India's northeasternmost state, Arunachal Pradesh. With the towering Himalayas acting as a giant shade sail and creating its own unique ecosystem, Arunachal Pradesh has become known as a hotspot of biodiversity. During this expedition, Mirza came across this bright, brand new species of snake. It's a subspecies of the green pit viper, named after both its color, obviously, as well as the heat-sensing pits in its head that it uses to navigate and hunt. While the new species was very similar to a couple of other green pit vipers, Mirza noticed two distinct differences. The first, it had more teeth, and the second, the males displayed a vivid orange stripe on their heads. What would you name this snake if you found it? Well, Mirza is a massive potterhead, so he thought it only fitting to name it Trimerecerus salazar, or Salazar's pit viper, after Salazar Slytherin, of course. If you're not a Harry Potter fan, perhaps you're more into Marvel movies. If so, let us introduce you to the recently found sea creature named after the iconic Black Panther Nation. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Wakanda the fish, discovered in 2019 thanks to a study conducted by Yi Kai-T, an ichthyology PhD student from the University of Sydney. These vibrant swimmers were found living in the dark coral reefs, also known as the Twilight Zone reefs, over in the Indian Ocean, just off the coast of Tanzania. That's right about here. Wakanda is a subspecies of the larger family known as fairy wrasses, which are often considered some of the most beautiful marine fish. And we'd probably agree with that. Wakanda's amazing coloring is so deep and so pronounced that the purple remains even when the fish is taken out of water for research. In most of these cases, the color will fade. 2019 proved to be a successful year for fish finding, with researchers notching up 16 other new species, including this cat-eyed cardinal fish. Prepare yourself for a hurricane of adorableness as we introduce you to the latest addition to the lemur family, aka Sheth's dwarf lemur. The little fuzzball was first identified in 2014 in northern Madagascar, in the forestry of the Ankarana Special Reserve, but researchers only confirmed it as a distinct species back in 2017 by analyzing its DNA. Its little gray body is about as small as it gets, at just 125 grams or 0.28 pounds. With a body length of less than 7 inches, the Sheth's dwarf is one of the smallest lemurs known to man. Its cousin, the fat-tailed dwarf lemur, which was not as recent a discovery, has a claim to fame of its own. The fat-tailed dwarf lemur is the only known primate that hibernates for an extended period of time, during which their heart rate drops from about 180 beats per minute to as low as 8 beats per minute. The mata-mata turtle, aka Chelis fimbriata, has been around for tens of millions of years. Only one species was thought to exist, until now. Thanks to a University of Senckenberg scientist named Uwe Fritz, a new off-brand mata-mata turtle has just been discovered. Previously, mata-mata turtles were known to inhabit just two specific places not too far from one another: the Amazon basin, located here, and the Orinoco River here. Most people accepted this as fact. However, Fritz noticed that the turtles in the basin looked ever so slightly different from the ones in the river. So he conducted a DNA test, and voila, he was right, officially discovering the Chelis orinocensis. As it turns out, these two species of turtle are now believed to have split into two separate species around 13 million years ago, when the Amazon-Orinoco river basins had started to separate from one another. Take a look at them side by side. Can you tell the difference between these two asteroid-like turtles? While they both look like rocks, with rigid shells and faces to match, the intricate shell patterns differ. If you were to ever accidentally step on one of those pointy-shelled creatures, it'd be mighty painful. And yet, you'd probably rather face that fate than find yourself trotting on this needle-mohawked lizard. Officially known as the Phuket horned tree agamid, this Godzilla-looking dragon was introduced to the public back in 2016 after being discovered by Belgian biologist Olivier Pauwels. It was just one of the many new species found around the greater Mekong region at the time, which is another one of Earth's richest biodiversity hotspots. As a member of the Acanthosaura genus of lizards, also known as the mountain horned dragons, the intimidating Phuket horned tree agamid is native to the few remaining forest patches in Phuket, Thailand. If you're thinking about getting into the field of animal discovery yourself, the highest paid 10% of workers make upwards of $120,000 a year. Researchers like Olivier Pauwels, who has co-described about 100 new species, would likely earn much more. And to recognize those top-tier animal researchers, the American Society of Animal Science distributes awards every year for exemplary work in the field, offering monetary prizes to first, second, and third place winners, with many other international-based organizations following suit. At a teeny tiny average of 7.7 millimeters long, that's less than a third of an inch, the Pataphrina amounsis takes the title of the world's smallest frog. The new species was found in August of 2009 near the Amau village in the central province of Papua New Guinea, thanks to the hard work of Louisiana State University herpetologist Christopher Austin and his PhD student Eric Rittmeyer. It surpassed the previous smallest vertebrate, Pataphrine swiftorium, by almost a millimeter, which isn't as much to us, but to these minuscule amphibians, it's a mile. As you'd expect, finding these guys was no walk in the park. After following their high-pitched sounds, Rittmeyer tried 4 times to find the frogs before grabbing a big handful of leaf litter and wrapping it up in a plastic bag. And it just so happens that these tiny frogs seem to live exclusively amid the leaves. If you thought a microscopic frog was odd, wait until you see what's in store next. Back in 2013, scientists came across a remarkable new species of cave-dwelling snail in one of the 20 deepest cave systems in the world, right here in Lukina Jama Trojama in Croatia, the deepest cave system in the country, known for its wondrous vertical shape and its unmatched depth. The tiny, fragile snail with a beautifully shaped dome-like shell was found, remarkably, 980 meters, or over 3,200 feet, below the surface. Named Zospium thalossum, this translucent snail is even smaller than our Papua New Guinea frog, measuring a shell height of less than 2 millimeters, or 0.08 inches, and with a shell width of just 1 millimeter, or 0.04 inches. Even though they're completely blind, in the dark depths of the Lukina Jama Trojama caves, there's no light anyway, so it doesn't matter. Supporting the classic snail cliché, they're also extremely slow-moving and are considered to potentially rely on passive means of transportation via running water or larger animals. Over in the Falkland Islands in the South Atlantic Ocean, this bizarre stingray-looking creature was found just last year in 2019 and is now known as Dipturus lamalai. Thought to be over a meter in length, these swimmers, found between 162 and 515 meters, or between 531 and 1,689 feet below the surface, were first mistaken to be Chilean yellow-nosed skate. However, genetic differences pointed out that they were an entirely new type of skate altogether. The skate, which is often distinguished by its stiff snout, is actually part of the Ragidae family, which consists in total of close to 150 species and counting. As you can see, even though each of these specimens looks different, they all fall under the Dipturus lamalai umbrella. The top 2 images are male and the bottom 2 are female. It was only a matter of time before a new type of spider was discovered, right? To anybody who doesn't like our 8-legged friends, you might want to close your eyes for this one. Also found in 2019, the Myrmecocultur chihuahuensis, which has since been nicknamed the ant-worshipping spider, is the first and only arachnid noted to spend most of its time underground scampering through ant mounds, although scientists are still scratching their heads and ponder why. If you're wondering about that ultra-long name, don't worry, there's an explanation. And the chihuahuensis? Well, that's an homage to where scientists were first able to witness the species in the wild, in Mexico's Chihuahuan Desert. Even though we've seen a number of new animals today, there are still thousands out there, waiting and hiding, unbeknownst to the general public. Why? Well, because as humans, we simply cannot access every place on Earth. When it comes to exploring the deep sea, the vast deserts, and the never-ending Amazon, we've barely even scraped the surface.